Hello, 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 and welcome to this episode of the Rent Success podcast. I'm thrilled and delighted to have here today Matt Baker from Scott Baker Properties. Now, he's the CEO of the HMO platform, a mastermind group of like-minded landlords committed to growing and improving portfolio properties. And you'll hear his particular ethos that's made him so successful. I've known of Matt for years, but recently met him at the HMO Awards, where he won virtually everything, including Best Co-Living. And his tenant first ethos is a big part of that. And I'm sure that's going to come out during our conversation today. He's author of the #1 best-selling book, Next Level Landlord, and he's co-host of the Property Jam podcast, which I was a guest on recently. And I think you're going to love this episode and get so much out of it in terms of how to manage the business of property and also how to manage the people of property to make yourself very successful. So welcome to the show, Matt Baker.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Yes, and we're delighted that you are here because you've got a reason not to be here or not to be podcasting, because you've got a new little arrival, baby Freddie.
Yes, I have. A few weeks ago, I didn't give birth. My wife gave birth to baby Freddie, and so I technically just coming off the end of a bit of paternity leave. So the bags around my eyes, you can kind of see they're getting more and more. So if the words don't quite come to mind as quickly as I'd like them to, please, give me a little bit of slack.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's lovely, and I love seeing the pictures of them on Facebook. Such cuties. So first of all, before we get into this HMO talk, Matt, I would love to hear a little bit about your background. How did you first get into property?
So as most people in property, you don't start in property. It's something that you find along the way. And for me, I kind of hit property in my early 30s. So all through my 20s, I was a musician. I'm a piano player by trade. In fact, this year, just last year, released an album, which is sitting behind me.
Wow.
Shameless plug there for my band, Loke Bar, Latin American Afro-Cuban music. It's all
Oh,
original stuff. So yeah, I've been a musician for absolutely years, and what I hated about it, but what I loved about it was the music and the creativity and all of that. What I hated about it was the inconsistency of income. So if you're using music to try and sustain a lifestyle and then grow a family, buy houses, it's very difficult and very hard to do. And what I found was I didn't like the uncertainty of that future for me. So I was trying to find ways to create more of an income, more of a reliable income, more consistent income, and I did that. Started doing that by setting up a music school, because teaching music was very reliable. I got very, very good at it. Got oversubscribed as a business. Brought in other teachers to teach the students in the area that I was in Oxfordshire. Very affluent area. It worked really, really well for as a business. And then I kind of was like, well, this isn't kind of the creativity side of music. I'm sat in front of a piano, but I'm teaching someone else, which I loved, probably 70% of it. But then there's only so many times I really wanted to teach Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So what I really wanted to do was kind of focus on the business side of it. And I went to an event to learn how to grow that music school business. And there was a lady there talking about how to invest in property as a different business model. And then I just thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. She was saying how you could do it without any money, without any time. You know the drill. So I just got sold this dream, and I kind of went for it and put pen to paper, took action, and then started growing the portfolio since 2015. It was at the beginning of 2015 that I started learning, and then towards the end of 2015 bought my first property, and then very quickly in early 2016 bought my first HMO, and then the co-living aspect kind of evolved from our want to create something really special for our tenants, and to make sure that every property was better than the last one. And we doubled the size of our portfolio for the first few years, every year, until we kind of got to the pandemic, and then now we changed tack a little bit. But that was the start. I sold my music school a few years ago, and now I'm just doing property full time. in terms of developing, and then also working with others to help them develop their own HMO and co-living properties along the side, and then doing a bit of music, hoping to do some festivals. We're just looking for an agent and applying for some festivals this year to go and do some touring.
Oh, there's so much in there. But one of the things that I love about what you said is that you started, you learned in 2015, you started buying properties in 2016. Well, that's 7 years ago. And I always say 5 years really is enough to transform things. A year is enough for a really good start. And 5 years is transformational. And 7 years, you've really got those foundations, you've got that transformation, and you really grow so much quicker after that first 5 years. We're in a similar sort of age in terms of level of investing. But I saw a post of yours recently on my brain is going in two directions. One is it's great you've been able to do that in a relatively short period of time, and now your music can be a passion.
Yes, I think the whole idea of doing property was to bring the doing music back into my own terms. So I didn't have to go out and do this. I didn't have to go out and do that. I could create what I wanted to create, and I started working with some world-class musicians, world-class people in the part of the industry that I wanted to be in, this kind of world music, Afro-Cuban, salsa, Latin music, essentially. So worked with some amazing musicians in that field, who are based in and around Europe, and also in Cuba. Went over to Cuba for 2 weeks to work with some musicians over there, and they helped to write some of the music. And now we launched in September, and it's been a long time in the making, because I've been doing it alongside everything else.
Yeah.
And the business, the property stuff had to take priority, because that's the thing that's going to give us the future income, the future choices. So the music, then I kind of wanted to keep it going, but then I found some amazing musicians to work with. The conga player, the conga player in my band is a really, really good friend now, and the two of us and the singer Adriana form the kind of the core of this ensemble, and we kind of pull the musicians in to record, and yeah, we go out as a 10-piece band, and it's bloody brilliant, if you ask me.
Wow. It's incredible. I would love to buy this record. So we must get that link from you, Matt, and put that in the show notes as well, so that people can buy your music and get a bit of Afro-Cuban and get a bit of world music going
It's good
on.
party. It's good party music.
Yeah, and you must let me know about these festivals. I was saying to Matt before we started recording that one of my things this year is about having new experiences, meeting different kinds of people, and just expanding my myself outside of business, because I've been very business focused for the last few years. So, love a few festivals and things, especially abroad, world music festivals.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you got this great foundation, and the second direction my brain was going in was I happened to see a post of yours today, that was you've repaid almost £400,000 to investors. Is that right?
Yes. So the last year we've been quite busy, really. With a lot of projects have been coming to fruition and refinancing, and we actually sold a property as well. Got an amazing price for one of our co-living developments, the one that actually won the award for the Property Investors Award, the co-living deal of the year 2022. We sold that, and we kind of set a new high in the area for sales prices of high quality shared living. So yeah, we work with investors most of the time, whether that's joint venture partners or whether that's through angel investing. So we do a lot of that, because I didn't have anything to start with. My first investor was my mum. Managed to drag her kicking and screaming. I didn't kick her, dragged her kicking and screaming into the business, and she kind of put some pension money in alongside my dad for about 2 or 3 projects. And Niall, who is my business partner, has got Maker Properties, Niall Scott. He brought some funds to an old work colleague of his. So again, just small amounts, just buying small properties, and then gradually growing. And now, we're doing projects. Currently raising about £500,000 for one project in Kent to make an epic co-living space. So it's stuff which is kind of bread and butter for us, and to be able to work with investors to help them get their money working, in places that, I suppose interest rates are quite high right now, but historically been very, very low, and they're going to go back down again. It's not going to take long for them to go back down. So people are looking for more interesting ways to park their money. Property is quite a nice one. So yeah, to be able to repay that amount shows that we've been able to deliver, and that's a very proud moment for us. So that our investors will be like, yeah, actually, that was a really good thing for us to have done.
Well, I love that because it's the leverage. And although, your lady says no time and no money, it might be a bit extreme, but you can leverage other people's time and other people's
Right.
money, and especially the more experience you've got. But even without experience, when you first started off, many of us do have family, friends, or people we know from property networking who have the money but not the time. There are so many of those people, and I think we underestimate when we have little money how many people have the money but don't have the time. So what I would like to do is talk about maybe some numbers on your first deal. Then I think it would be lovely to talk about the angel versus JV type of leveraging other people's money. So what I mean for those listeners who don't know those terms is when you take investment, there are different ways you can do it, which have different implications. So I'd like Matt to talk about the pros and cons of angel investing versus JV investing. And finally,
Yeah.
before we come back to those first two things, which I will remind you of, I'd love to talk about what's your 500k project in Kent. I'd love to know more about that co-living project.
Okay, so we're buying a property which is going to be an 8-bedroom project. So we are purchasing for around about the 400 mark, spending about 160, 170 on it. So we're leveraging some bridging finance to purchase, and then some angel investment to do the deposit and the works. So we've got a very good relationship with a few bridging lenders who just love what we do, give us really great rates, act really quickly, and it just means that we can just get on and develop. And so that particular project is going to go to planning. It's in a non-Article 4 area, so we can get to 6 bedrooms, and it works as a 6-bed. It's not quite as nice, but if for whatever reason we don't get planning for 8, we would just sell it on as a 6-bed. If we get the 8, then that gives us a really nice GDV, which means we can refinance it and then keep it in the portfolio with probably about 60k left in it at the end. So and a really nice, given interest rates where they are right now, people ask me, like, how should I be appraising commercial lending, commercial valuations on properties? At the moment, we're saying if you can get it to work at 7%, where you're happy at 7%, the cash flow is not going to be amazing, but if it works, then there's only one way those interest rates are going to go in the future, which is down. So it will be better in the future as well. So it works for us. We get about £1,000 a month profit from an 8-bed HMO, whereas 2 years ago it would have been closer to £2,000 a month profit. But we can get back there over time.
Yeah.
So we'll go for planning. It's over 3 stories, loft conversion to get 2 bedrooms up there. It's already got 2 bedrooms in, but we're just going to put a dormer on the side all the way along. Basement conversion to create a studio room and a cinema room in the basement, and then 3 on the first floor, 2 on the ground floor, 1 on the basement.
I really like it because it's long term as well. You're doing this as a long term play. So much capital appreciation. A friend of mine bought a property for just under 500k in London. Must be coming up to 12 years ago. It's now worth well over a million. One sold for 1.2 that was a bit smaller than hers a few years ago. So even within that short time frame of 12 years, so much capital appreciation. So cash flow maybe a bit low, but maybe not, because £1,000 a month is not bad. But obviously you do have that higher investment on the front end. But in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, it's such an incredible deal. And I think people forget that when they have that short-sighted cash flow only sort of approach.
Yeah, I'd agree. And actually, our goal isn't just to do one of these. Our goal this year is to do 10 of them. So this is the first of many. So we're actually raising 10 times that amount, so about £4-5 million to be able to do these. And then the aim is to refinance them out and then sell probably half of them, and then retain the rest, and then just rinse and repeat. And this is a great new joint venture that we've got with the builder as well. So the builder really wants some cash flow so he can stop working for others, and then he wants to work with us so it's going to build up a cash flow pot, which gives us flexibility of who gets the money, who needs the money when. And we've also got some new build stuff going on with them as well for capital. So we've got a project which is just under £1 million profit, that's going alongside our cash flow. So one of the things you said to me before we started was you want to know about some of the mistakes that we made along the way, and if you were going to start again, what would you do something differently? And the answer I always give to this is I would have started flipping earlier. So when working with investors, it's really important to have large capital events happening at multiple points throughout a year, so you've got the ability to repay investors. And we've been in positions where we've had to extend an investor because a refinance didn't come through as quickly as it should have done, or a build went over by a month, and you give the time frames and it works there or thereabouts. We've always repaid the investor, but sometimes you just have to have that conversation, which most investors are fine with. But if they've got plans, it can start to make things a bit tricky. So what we find is that if you're only reliant on that one thing to happen, then it can basically means you've got fewer other options. So by having a flipping strategy alongside a cash flow strategy, it means that you get more opportunity to have capital coming into your business. So this is like doing that on steroids. We're doing like £1 million profit deals, and then we're building a co-living portfolio. And this, you said about scale, when you get to that 5-6 year mark, and then you're able to scale a lot faster. This is the plan that we're putting in place for us at Scott Baker Properties, and our new business, which is the co-living experience. So it's it's going to be an amazing 2023, I think.
Yes, it sounds absolutely incredible. And what I love about that is the insight, the experience that you're able to offer to somebody who's new, who's starting out, who may not start exactly, obviously, what you're doing now, 10 in a year, at 500K each, and raising that kind of finance, but to help them start at the appropriate point for them, but give them that future pacing where they know what they can move on to. And things like running that flipping strategy alongside working with investors and buying and hold strategy. So just want to point out, if you're listening to this thinking, wow, I definitely want to get into buying HMOs and would love to know more about what Matt is doing, I'd love you to talk to us, Matt, about the HMO platform.
Yeah, so the HMO platform is something which we set up back in 2018, early 2019, and it was really the first co-living training out there. We started off by teaching a small number of people in like a mastermind format how to do what we were doing, because people were asking us, how have you been able to do what you've done? And then we hit the pandemic and we kind of chopped and changed what we were doing, and we come out of the pandemic and really got a really nice business now where we're able to work with people at different levels, and so for example teach people how to do it on a 3-day event, and like no holds barred, and we're also able to to walk people through the entire process over a 12-month period as well, where we give them a lot of insight and access to all of our team through that mastermind format, which we've really grown, because masterminds have worked for us in the way that our business has grown. We're still in masterminds to this day with people that are doing much bigger things than we are. So it's something that we say, get yourself around like-minded people. And if doing HMOs, buying and investing in HMOs is something that people want to do, then I do believe we've got one of the best platforms in the country to be able to get people to that next level. We call these HMOs next level HMOs, because it's not about creating the beige box, the standard stuff, the rinse and repeat. It's about creating something special, something unique, which just stands out in the crowd, because you always want to be able to rent it. And if you're in the top 5% of your marketplace, then you're always going to be in a position where you will fill your rooms, regardless of whether we're in a recession, whether the market's booming. You're always going to sell. So that's where we want to be. And that's what we teach our clients to do. And the market is massive. There are more people exiting the market than getting into the market. So if people worry about the number of people buying HMOs, it's not an issue. We need lots more people to do it. whether it's rent to rent HMOs or investing HMOs, it's all about the housing which the country sorely needs. So as you probably tell, I'm quite passionate about this industry, but also bringing other people into the industry, because I know how much it can help them and how much it can really change their lives by doing something which is relatively straightforward. Going out there, find a house, buy a house. You've either got the money or you need to go find an investor, joint venture partner to go and help fund it. And then you've got to know the nuances of how to do HMOs and how to do them properly, because the legislations is hard and it's getting harder. It's only ever going to go one way. So a lot of people are being put off doing it, which is why I think we're in a very great position with the large team that we've got to be able to deliver the pathway. Really, the there's the route that you take. Just follow what everyone else ahead of you is doing, and then the success is inevitable.
Yeah, so good. Now, I did say that we would go back, now casting mind back a few years, Matt, to that very first deal that you did, because guessing you were maybe a bit nervous, a bit hesitant, or were you totally excited and thought, yeah, I can do this, no problem? So tell us about how you were mindset-wise and how you managed it finance-wise.
So my very first, in fact, I did 2 deals on the same day for my first one. I was very gung ho. I was like, I'm going to go and do this, and I wasn't sure where I was going to get the money from. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go start looking. And I was living in Oxfordshire at the time. My parents were living in Warrington, so I was looking in and around Warrington, going and visiting them on the weekend, and sneaking out and doing viewings, and not really telling them what I was doing. And then they kind of cottoned on that we were doing something, and my I said, "Well, we're going to do some buy-to-let properties." And my dad ran upstairs. He came downstairs with his book. It was like How to Do Buy-to-Let Property from like 1992. And it was like, "Look, I've got this book." I was like, "Well, where are all the buy-to-let properties?" Come on. Our life would be very different if we'd had that kind of portfolio when we were growing up. So basically I explained what we were going to do. I said, we're going to do this. You might want to be involved. And my mum had some money coming in from a pension and the not redundancy, a lump sum from a retirement. And she was going to go put it in this fund where she gets like 3% return on the money. And I said, well, I think we can definitely beat that. So why don't we just go out there and buy something? So we started looking together. We went out and we decided we were going to do a buy to let just to cut our teeth, and also and start doing HMOs as well. And we saw a perfect little, it was a semi-detached bungalow, 2 bedrooms. It was on the market for about 120. I think we put an offer in at 10. I think we put an offer in at like 99 or 100. Got rejected, and the guy said, if you can do 105, they'll take it off the market today. So looked at mum, was like, yeah, okay, 105. Got revalued at 135 within 6 months. And that's just been revalued up at 170 last year. So it's going as you would expect in a market which had good prospects, which is why we chose the Northwest back in 2015 to start investing. That first project, as I said, was just a bungalow. We went in, we bought it on the 18th of December 2015, and then we started going and stripping it out over Christmas, taking all the wallpaper off, ripping everything out, and then with the help of a handyman, put it all back together, and then rented it out. And that property has had 0 voids. I can't say that about any other property, but our very first property has had 0 voids, because someone's moved in the day after someone's moved out. So it's been absolutely brilliant. We've only had 3 tenants in there in 7 years. 2015, yeah, just over 7 years, and it's been wonderful as an investment. That was the first one, and the second one we had the offer agreed the same day. It was a 4-bedroom terraced house. The idea of turning it into originally 6-bed HMO. We realised that was a bit squeezing it in, so we went for a 5-bed nicer HMO. It was an upside down house. We put the kitchen living space on the first floor, because the first floor was actually bigger than the ground floor. Which is weird because it had this flying freehold. So we thought, well, let's make the most of the upper bit. And then, so we had 3 on the ground floor, 2 on the first floor, and this nice living dining kitchen. And Yeah, it's a nice property. Again, just does what it's supposed to do. And they were both funded by my mum and her pension money.
Brilliant.
But they ran
Yeah.
out. They ran out after that one.
Yeah. No, it's incredible, and I hope this really inspires people to get started. Now we don't have very long left, and I know that I did want to ask you about Angel versus JV, but I also wanted to ask you about secrets to success. So I might need to get you back on that. But which do you want to share with us, Angel versus JV or secrets to success?
We could do a quick fire on both. I
Yeah,
can give you
go on
my
then.
2 cents on Angel versus JV.
Yes.
They're both amazing. They're both amazing ways of doing things. Joint ventures have got generally quite high expectations of what they're going into. It is a regulated transaction, so you need to be careful what you're pitching, what you're selling, because they do have recourse if things do go wrong. But a joint venture is like a marriage. We don't go into a joint venture until we've known someone for probably at least 12 to 18 months. We've only actually got about 3 joint venture partners that we work with. And we've got a queue of people that say, can we joint venture with you? Can we joint venture with you? We just say no, because we don't really have the capacity to take it on. I had someone offer us £1 million the other day. It's just like, no, not really. And so that kind of gives us a great opportunity to do those deals. But also, when we're doing deals ourselves, borrowing money, it's a very straightforward transaction. You can do it, as long as they've got a little bit, a bit sophisticated. You can, borrow money from them. It's less regulated, and it does mean that you can borrow the money, but you've got to have a very clear exit how to pay it back. It's a joint venture. If things don't go wrong, you're in it together. With an angel, you're in it to pay them back. So if things don't go right, you need to have a plan. So which is why I would do the multiple strategies, flipping and HMOs, and we flip HMOs, so we get really great profit, like between 50 and 100 grand profit per property, in those at least. And yeah, so I'd say that they both are part of your arsenal, but just beware going into joint ventures. Don't just go to a property networking event and find someone and buy a property together. I've seen that happen, and 9 times out of 10, it breaks up. It goes wrong.
That's
That'd
brilliant.
be my 2 cents on that.
Just to say, an angel investor is like somebody giving you a loan, basically, where
Correct.
they don't own the asset with you. They lend you the money, you pay them back. A JV investor can be a range of different arrangements, but how it usually works is you own the asset together. So it's a longer term relationship, and you need to also think about the exits there. But Matt, I would love, you have so many secrets to success, and I know you have a particular ethos which has worked well for you and helped you win so many awards. So I'd love you to tell us about that.
Yeah, so the ethos that we use is called tenant first, and it forms the backbone of the book Next Level Landlord, which is sitting behind me. And that book kind of has the whole, we go through that tenant first method from beginning to end, but at the heart of it is the idea that if you put your customer, your tenant, at the heart of every decision you make, you can't really go wrong. And I think this is the number one mistake that property investors make, is they forget that they're creating something for someone to live in. And if you're an investor to hold that property, the person going in is your problem. You've got to deal with them over a long period of time. So you want to make something which works for them, that they actually want to live in, especially when it comes to HMOs and co-living, which are basically, co-living is where we have an intentional community that we try and foster within a really good looking HMO. So that's when people get on a lot more. They are more likely to solve problems amongst themselves. We have very, very few issues, very few complaints from the co-living properties that we have. The ones that take up most of our times are the old properties that we've got, which are not as evolved as the ones that we've done in the last 4 years. So we do have a few like middle of the road properties, some which we've now got onto long-term leases with rent-to-rent providers, who are now putting in, asylum seekers and other types of tenants like that. So yeah, I think tenant first is one of the biggest secrets to success that I can give. The other one, probably my final point, is that the people that are listening to this who are thinking about just getting moving, the most important step along the road to success is always the first one.
Which is
the first step.
Taking the first step.
Just taking the first step, and for each individual that would be different. Yeah, you got me thinking there. What's the first step? No,
I know the first step. I know the first step. Get Next Level Landlord, actually.
Yes.
And Matt is very generously gifted you a copy of his book, Next Level Landlord, where you can get the tips and tricks and system that Matt's been talking about today.
Yeah, so we're going to share a link which is specific for you guys, where you can go download a free copy of Next Level Landlord, the best-selling book, double best-selling book, because we're on the second edition now for 2022. And also you'll get an invitation to one of our free webinars where we talk about the strategies of co-living, how you can really go out there and streamline finding properties, and then getting an idea about how you can start to raise finance and why it's a lot easier than you might think.
Yeah, so good. Raising finance, because that is something that stops people getting started. So you know that even from our conversation today, that Matt provides incredible value and such clarity, great insights. So do go to the link in the show notes and grab a copy of Matt's book. And also you'll be able to get an invitation to the webinar. So thank you so much, Matt, for coming today and sharing your insights with us. It's been phenomenal to have you on board, and huge congratulations both on Baby Freddie and on winning across the board in many categories, including Best Co-Living Provider at the HMO Awards.
As in the Property Investor Awards, that one.
Sorry? Oh, that was the Property Investor Awards.
It was, yeah.
Excuse me, you're winning them all left and right. So
thank you for having me on.
And thank you, as always, for watching and for listening. If you want to see Matt's awards in the background and his book, check us out on video, renttosuccess.com/165 to see the video for this episode. And if you want to get started in buying HMOs and investing in properties, you'll have the link in the show notes. If you want to get started in rent to rent, do check out our Rent to Rent Success Masterclass, and you can get that at renttorentssuccess.com/guide, GUIDE. And I will see you next week. Until then, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. See you soon. Bye for now.